Hey everyone, and welcome to Backseat Sports. I'm Josh and that is Caleb, and we are finally back with another video talking about Husker football. So much has happened in the last few weeks since we haven't posted, but we've had a few really fun videos about Scott Frost in the past, and we are excited to talk about Husker football and this coaching staff today.
Scott Frost finished off the 13-0 run with UCF. He's officially now getting to focus all of his attention on Nebraska football.
Finally.
And now that that's happening, he's bringing along his whole staff from the University of Central Florida. And with that, it comes a lot of talk and questions.
Husker Nation has a lot of questions when it comes to Coach Frost's staff. A lot of people have some bad memories of what happened with Mike Riley, with Riley bringing basically his whole team from Oregon State, and obviously it didn't work out very well. And so a lot of people were pretty hesitant off the bat hearing that Scott Frost was bringing his whole squad from UCF. Obviously, it's a little bit more comforting knowing that they went 13-0 and beat Auburn in an impressive fashion. But there's still a lot of question marks when it comes to the coaching staff, and there's a lot of different things when it comes to inexperience and not having a job at a big-time university. Some sort of questions like that are definitely need to be addressed, especially when it comes to some of the most important guys on the staff.
With that, we're going to focus on some of the guys that we highlighted as very important to Scott Frost. Piggybacking off what Josh said, the coach is not having a lot of experience. Scott Frost had even, has had questions coming in. Does he have enough experience? Even at UCF, if we look at all of his assistant coaches, they don't have near as much as experience as Scott Frost does. But there's a lot of excitement with that too, bringing a lot of young people in. It gives us a lot of time with these coaches if all goes according to plan, which hopefully that's true. All right, so first we're going to look at Troy Walters, our new offensive coordinator. Oh, that's nice to say. We have a new offensive coordinator. Now that he's at Nebraska, I think this is definitely going to be one of the better guys that Scott Frost has brought with us. He looks really experienced. His father coached in college and the professional level, including places like Notre Dame for 40 years. He, like Scott Frost, was brought up into this football mindset, and he from the get-go has had a long career as well. He played at Stanford, where he led their all-time receiving yards, and he played in the NFL for 8 years. So he has playing experience, and he has some coaching experience too. And he's been working up the ladder, trying to get better and better jobs. He started off at Indiana State as an offensive coordinator, quarterbacks and receivers coach, and from there, piggyback jumped year to year to a better job. He went then to Texas A&M as an assistant coach for receivers, then to NC State as an assistant coach also for receivers, and then Colorado, where he's highlighted for his recruiting experience and wide receivers, and then again at UCF as an offensive coordinator, getting into more what he likes to do as well as the wide receivers. And here he is at Nebraska doing the same job. We see this all the time in NCAA football. To move up in jobs, you have to jump around to climb the ladder to the job that you want. He is a good coach, and he's a wanted coach for recruiting and others too. And I'm really happy he made the move and stayed with Scott Frost. And he gets to be our offensive coordinator and wide receivers coach.
Yeah, the evidence shows that at UCF, Scott Frost, in combination with Troy Walters, did a great job with that offense as the top 5 offense in college football, and was fantastic all year long, both running the ball and passing the ball through the air and on the ground. And I think there's a lot of excitement around Troy Walters and Scott Frost and what they can do with Nebraska's offense moving forward. So we're going to stay on the offensive side of the ball. And a lot of discussion was around Nebraska's offensive line coach these last few years with Kavanaugh. But now Greg Austin is our new offensive line coach, again, brought to Nebraska from UCF. Austin actually, interestingly enough, started as a grad assistant. There was massive improvement in 2017, where according to Football Outsiders, UCF's offensive line in 2017 was ranked in the top 60 in 6 of their 9 offensive line categories. 3 out of those 9 categories, UCF was actually in the top 10. And they were in the top 60 in 6 of the 9. So really a fantastic offensive line. From in 2015, their offensive line was ranked past 110th, lower than 110th in 6 of the 9 categories. So big improvement in those few years under Greg Austin and Scott Frost and the coaching staff. So there's definitely a lot to look forward to when it comes to Nebraska. It could take a year or two to see that major improvement like it did at UCF, but the arrow definitely is pointing upwards when it comes to Greg Austin's experience and what he brings to the table as the offensive line coach.
Yeah, watching that game against Auburn, I was really impressed with how well the offensive line held up for Mackenzie Milton and their running backs. I was not expecting the line to be able to hold as well as it did when they were probably outmanned a little bit with some of those guys on Auburn. Next, we have Erik Chinander, our defensive coordinator, Iowa alma mater, now is our defensive coordinator. Then he moved to an assistant coach at Ellsworth, Iowa. And then from there, he moved on to Northern Iowa as a tight ends coach. And then Oregon. And so from Oregon, we see the trail of how kind of everybody on Scott Frost's coaching staff's kind of gotten there. They were with Philadelphia and was a defensive line coach. Back to Oregon as an assistant coach, as an outside linebackers coach. From that, he went to Central Florida's defensive coordinator in 16-17. He went back and forth between Chip Kelly and Scott Frost, and now is our defensive coordinator at Nebraska. It'll be really interesting to see how he does. Not a crazy amount of experience outside of Scott Frost or Chip Kelly. Yeah. He's just been in that bubble of Central Florida, Oregon, and a little bit at Northern Iowa. I'm a little bit leery, but I saw a ton of good things from the defense as well.
Absolutely.
And so when you go undefeated, how leery can you be? In 2015, UCF allowed 37.7 points per game. That's when they went 0-12. When he got there, they averaged 25.2 points a game. And that's pretty good in the American Athletic Conference when there's a lot of high scoring. And they also held even Auburn to that kind of mark. So they put it in a place where UCF could always win the game. In those shootouts, it's kind of tough because they faced a couple of the best offenses in the country. And as we saw, you know, even with Georgia and Oklahoma, it doesn't matter how good your defense is if you're facing a good offense. But as long as they can hold them enough to win. So it'll be really interesting to see. And this is definitely something I have circled to see how well our defense adjusts.
Yeah, coming off that Auburn, and their defense really looked like it could stand the test of time against Auburn. So it's exciting to see what he can do with Nebraska. For Nebraska, going from Bob Diaco, who had a lot of experience in Division I, a lot of experience in big-time conferences, with now Chinander taking over, it's going to be interesting to see how that inexperience in big-time conferences plays out for our defense.
As me and Josh have said before, with youth comes a lot of new ideas and the ability to take risks. And as we seen at UCF, football and at anything is really important. And if he can bring that and new stuff to the table, it'd be really exciting.
So once again, staying on the defensive side of the ball, we got to talk about the linebackers because last year was definitely a big issue for Nebraska. Our inside and outside linebackers really struggled last year, covering ground, making the plays that needed to be made to win games. And we gave up a lot of points last year. Yeah, exactly. So when it comes to our linebackers coaches, we have Jovan Dewitt, who's the head linebackers coach. And he's had an interesting coaching career so far where he's bounced around a lot of really small schools. He graduated from Northern Iowa, and he actually ended up being the Northern Iowa defensive coordinator by 2009 for those 2 seasons. From all we've heard, he's done a good job at UCF, and the linebackers had a vast improvement in those few years. Still a lot of question marks when it comes to what his potential can be at a large Division I school in a Power 5 conference. So there's still a lot of question mark there, but that's why we also have Barrett Ruud on staff to bring a different type of perspective to the linebackers as well. A little bit of rude action. As you guys all know, he's the leading tackler in Nebraska history. He spent 8 years in the NFL as a linebacker. As a coach, he was a graduate manager for Nebraska in 2014 under Pelini. I know we don't want to talk about those names around here, but he did coach under Pelini. And then he went to UCF and coached there for 2 years with Scott Frost as the linebackers coach as well. UCF had vast improvement in the middle of their defense there as the linebackers. But once again, Ruud only has a few years of coaching experience. Even though he has vast experience when it comes to his playing career, he's still a very young coach, very inexperienced coach. And so we don't necessarily know what he can bring to the table yet as a coach. I think he's going to be an extremely good recruiter. He's going to bring a lot to the table when it comes to Nebraska's tradition and history, really instilling what it means to be a Husker to these linebackers. But besides that, we don't necessarily know what he's going to bring to the table, and it's going to be interesting to see. And that's why we really circled these guys and highlighted these guys as people that we want to watch and look forward to seeing what they do in the upcoming few years.
As offseason continues to progress, and we'll keep looking at all the other 14 coaches that we have thus far. We'll continue to talk as recruiting and everything else spills out, and as we get to see more game plan during the spring game. We'll continue talks about all these guys. And as always, if you've liked this video, like, comment, favorite, and subscribe. I'm Caleb, he's Josh. This has been Backseat Sports, and we'll see you next video.
See ya.
It feels great. I'm so proud of this team, and I'm just so proud to have had a chance to play for Coach Osborne. And I just want to say this about the national championship. You know, if all the pollsters honestly think after